Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today we're going to talk about Yuriko and her ninjas. Kinda, sorta. Anyway, we finally got the Commander Ninjutsu, which sounds kind of hokey, but you know, it works, and I'm glad it's the KISS theory here. But the beautiful part is when a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card in your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So we all know how good Bob is. Oh shoot, I'm having trouble thinking of the actual name of the card now. Dark Confidant. But this, your opponents lose life, and it's every opponent. So that's beautiful. Now, this triggers every time a ninja you control deals combat damage. So if you've got a bunch of ninjas, you're going to put a bunch of cards and they're going to lose a bunch of life. One would hope, anyway. The only problem is we have blue-black only to work with and ninjas, which were only a Kamigawa thing. Now, there are there's a lot of decent ninjas in that block, but it's just not enough for me to want to make this work. I do apologize to those of you who got the reference. I can't. Yuriko, none of the creatures in the deck are ninjas, but they become ninjas. So I call them ninjalinos. There again, I'm sorry. I have a grandchild, so I'm up on that. Anyway, here is how they become. I've got two cards here. I've got Xenographed, which will work in a pinch. It'll work. However, Conspiracy is the card that we want. That's the card that we want. Obviously, we're going to name ninjas, and every creature we have, they're all going to be ninjas. Ninja training school. Turn them into ninjalinos. And every time they hit, you're going to reveal that card, take some damage, and put it in your hand. I like that it's put it in your hand and not draw, so it don't trigger the draw things. So we've got to get Conspiracy, or in the least, Xenographed. Now, there's a ton of tutors out there, and y'all know, keep in mind, Conspiracy does cost 5. So Brain Spoil is a tutor. That's all it is. We're never going to cast this. Nobody, is signing up to spend 5 mana to destroy target creature. We're transmuting this joker to go get Conspiracy. Yeah, in a perfect world, we raw dog Conspiracy and we've got the Brain Spoil. It does have a use. We can actually spend 5 to destroy target creature. But, of course, we have the good old-fashioned Diabolic Tutor. Had I had a Demonic Tutor, it would totally be in here as well. Now, the Mystical Tutor is going to go find one of them for, night dealings, because we are dealing damage. Our creatures will deal damage even though they're not ninjas. So, if we get night dealings, we'll get theft counters on it, and then we can just tutor up our Conspiracy to make the whole shenanigans work. Of course, Diabolic Vision is going to help us draw, Telling Time, Frantic Search. It's all about trying to find that Conspiracy. Now, we're playing a little bit of mana fixing. I've got the 4 rocks, Border Post, Signet, Key Rune, and Monument. I guess let's get to the creatures, huh? Okay. The first category is what we're going to call unblockable. It's hard to search this out on Gatherer. You got to search 5 or 6 different times because they've changed the wording on it. It was a keyword sometimes, and then it wasn't a keyword, and then it was an ability. It was weird. But either way, creatures that cannot be blocked. And there's more than you would think. Even at the lower mana. Now, blue has probably more of the 1-drops. But these are all creatures that just cannot be blocked. So these are getting in there, dealing with damage. Now, granted, they're mostly 1s and 2s in power, but how we're winning is not through creature damage. It's through revealing cards. And yeah, we're going to reveal some of these. So they're going to, if we get lucky and We reveal the Phantom Warrior. Yeah, everybody take 3. That's not that big a deal. I mean, 3, it's going to take you some time to get you there. We'll get to that in a minute. So this is all the unblockable ones. Now, but for me, that still wasn't enough. So what I did was I went, how about almost unblockable? Like Bouncing Beebles. Everybody plays with artifacts, right? So, Bouncing Beebles is pretty much unblockable. Death Cult Rogue can be blocked except by rogues. So, not everybody has rogues. Shadow Mage Infiltrator, autographed by Finkel, has Fear. And then I was like, they made a whole mechanic that was about almost unblockable. And that whole mechanic is called Shadow. You don't see much Shadow in, as an amazing an ability as it is. Of course, it's not on a lot of big things. It's on a lot of small things. But Shadow is pretty much, I mean, it's unblockable unless they have Shadow, or one of the few cards that can block like it has Shadow. But Black and Blue did have its fair share of Shadow creatures. Actually, Black and Blue had the majority of them. But Shadow creatures, of course, the only creatures that can block Shadow are creatures that have Shadow, or be blocked by. And then in Time Spiral, they decided, you know what? Let's give a creature a big giant 5/5, 2 forms of evasion. Flying and Shadow. The damn thing might as well be unblockable. You know what I'm saying? Do you know how many creatures have Flying and Shadow? This one. That's it. Now, I've got a few more creatures here, like Night Veil Spectre, simply because we are doing, it does trigger on the combat damage. Now, granted, it's not unblockable. Dimir Cutpurse, kind of a similar line of thinking there. Deals combat damage. That player discards, you draw. And I have a Glenalindra Liege because, well, it's pretty much 4 colorless in this deck. And it does pump the rest of your team. And, of course, once I jumped this far, it wasn't too far for an Una. We're in the colors. She does make ninja fairy babies. Fairy ninja babies. That sounds despicable. Anyway. And, she mills people. Exiles. So, also, she does kind of combat the whole top of the library manipulation thing with your opponents. If they're playing the Amanatu or whatever the top card of the library deck that Services is, this is a thing that you can use to, mess with that strategy. Now, speaking of top of the library, we're going to be playing with the top of the library because we want the top card of our library to be absolutely as big as possible for mana cost. So, in a perfect world, we're going to swing and reveal Draco. Now, it's only going to happen once, right? I mean, if we get lucky enough and it happens once, yep, everybody takes 16. Well, it's in my hand now. So that's why we have things like Brainstorm, Dream Cache, Ransack to put it back. Now, yes, Sensei's Divining Top and Scroll Rack is actually the perfect card for the deck, but Scroll Rack is also the perfect card for a million decks, and that's why it's kind of out of the budget. But Scroll Rack would be perfect because you can reveal it and put it into your hand from Yuriko, and then rack it back to the top of your library for the next combat to do it again. That being said, Volrath's Dungeon is my replacement scroll because this lets, every other time I have ever cast Volrath's Dungeon, it has been to manipulate the top of an opponent's library, to put their entire hand back on top of their library so they keep drawing the same cards. Now, granted, you've got to do what you're going to do on your turn with this, Because once it becomes their turn, they'll pay the 5 life. 5 life in a 20 life format is not that, it's a quarter of your life, but in a 40 life format, not that big a deal. But here, you just discard a card to put another card. You target yourself, obviously, and put the Draco back on top of the library. Now, I do have another card, one more besides Draco. I am playing with Blink Moth Infusion, the the CCO boys almost got me calling it something else. Anyway, it's 14 mana, and it is mystical tutorable. So it's one of those things that at the end of the turn before you, you see that you're, well, no, because you don't want to do that, because you want to draw your card. Okay, you draw your mystical tutor, and you actually, wow, is this like the one time you mystical tutor during your main phase? Your pre-combat main phase? So you mystical tutor, hey, everybody, put a Blink Moth Infusion on top of my deck, and then I'm going to swing, and everybody take 14. Now, this is another one that's, I mean, we're not casting this card. There's not a prayer. This or Draco, either one. There's no way. No way that we are casting them. They're in there to do some damage. Now, Endless Scream is a placeholder for my Library of Link, but Endless Scream is pretty decent. Library of Link would be great because you have no max hand size, and if something forces you to discard, you discard to the top of your library. So that's kind of why I didn't get into any deeper into the self-discard, because this way, with Volrath's Dungeon, you could discard a card to the dungeon to the top of your library to put the Inkmoth Nexus, the Draco, whatever, on top. Anyway. But Endless Scream, kind of neat in a deck full of creatures that can't be blocked. Late game, yeah, sure, this guy gets +9. And it has Shadow, so guess what? You're not blocking it. Now, Spellbook is actually probably the replacement that I'm going to get. I'm going out of town for a couple days, and I'm going to hit some local game shops up to the Missouri area. By the time y'all hear this, it'll actually be over and done with, because I'm trying to record up a bunch so y'all don't miss nothing. But I'm going to try to get a Library of Link while I'm up there. And Shadow of the Doubt. This one goes out to a buddy of mine simply because he hates this card. Every time he casts a tutor, I'll have Shadow of Doubt in hand. It's weird. Now, it hadn't happened in like a couple of years, but we hadn't played in a while. But Shadow of Doubt, good card. Does let you draw a card. And it nerfs every tutor/fetch. So, kind of neat. Now, we got to have stuff. If we've got our Conspiracy in play and our Commander in play, we got to protect them. I mean, we really do. So that's why we're going down the permission route. Counterspell, negate, mana leak, unwind. I mean, we are countering some spells. Memory lapse. Memory lapse I kind of like because this whole theme of top card of the library, I can't ever imagine. I have memory lapsed my own spell, but it's been years back when memory lapse came out. But I have memory lapsed my own spell just to keep from losing it if somebody else was trying to counter it. But I don't know if that's exactly going to happen here. But I don't know. It's kind of fun. It's top of the library. Why not? Dismiss. Disdainful Stroke almost doesn't have a drawback in our format. Because, let's face it, anything you really care about countering, or most things that you care about countering, is going to cost 4. Hinder, here again, it deals with the top or bottom, and you can totally nerf somebody. Y'all have heard me talk about Danny. He's a friend that plays in the local play group, and he just rolled the dice, and he was like, "Okay, Hinder Tunnel Vision," and that was it. That was it for Brian. And then of course I have the ultimate counterspell, Time Stop. No, you're done. No, you're done. The only thing this is missing is what? Split Second to make it awesome. Would we pay a 7th mana? Would I pay another mana to add Split Second to this? I've heard some people say that it just needs split second anyway. It already costs 6. It does end the turn. We've got an artifact that costs half of it, and it just does it. But it only ends your turn. So this ends the turn. So that's, I would play, I think I would pay 5 and 2 blue, or maybe even 4 blue, blue, blue for split second on this. But I don't really think we're going to get split second back. Ever. Doomblade, of course, we're into some removal. Now, I'm calling exhaustion removal. It's kind of like a sleep, but it's for their lands too. Now, it doesn't tap them all, which I guess that's where the other blue comes in. But I do like the exhaustion. Of course, Etherize. It's the, okay, we'll call it what it is. It's Poor Man's Cyclonic Rift. Decree of Pain. Now, I only wanted to do one board wipe since we are a kind of a creature-themed deck. I didn't want to, keep blowing up my own dudes, but there is a chance that, the situation will arise that I need to wipe the board. And also, here's the upside to this card. It cost 8. So if we reveal this with some ninjalinos, everybody at the table's taking 8, and they know you've got a Wrath. So, and the last card I've got is Slaughter. Now, Slaughter doesn't see a lot of love. It really, really doesn't. Destroy target non-black creature. That is the drawback that they used to have back then. Black didn't target black creatures. So now they've since changed that. But that creature can't be regenerated, and you've got a buyback of paying 4 life. Now, I love the alternate costed buybacks that weren't mana. Paying 4 life, then in an environment where Commander did not exist, paying 4 life was unheard of and nobody would do it. And this was just a 4 mana terror and nobody liked it. But now there are, I can think of hundreds of creatures. I would pay 4 life to get it gone. And that way you pay the 4 life, it comes back to your hand, you've got it to use again. So many commanders. It's an instant. So many things that you're going to take more than 4 damage from. So I'll just pay the 4 life, nuke that guy, put this back in my hand. We all know I've got it. What's up? That's what I've got for Yuriko. Making ninjas. She is sitting in the ninja training school. I thought of Beverly Hills Ninja and the little, but the ninjalinos is actually what the current thing is right now, I guess, for my grandson. So I'm showing my age here, guys, gals. But anyway, I do appreciate y'all watching. I had an idea today. Somebody in the comments has asked me what kind of deck boxes these are. They look pretty short. So I've left a couple sealed so that what I'm probably going to do is just probably do a non-deck video and just talk about the junk that I use and, sleeves and binders and deck boxes and junk like that. I mean, they're just, once you, yeah, we all deck build and we all know sleeves and deck boxes and things, but once you take a project on like this, it really kind of warps your impression of, or impression is the wrong word. I've worked all day. I'm tired. I'm sorry. It warps your understanding of what you're doing, because this is a monumental project, and there's a real good chance that once I get finished, that once we get done with this, I say we because I mean y'all are watching. Once we get done with this test, it is very possible for it to be 1,000 decks. Right now, there's not 1,000, but they're still printing cards. We're going back to Ravnica soon, and the last couple times that we've been to Ravnica, they have given us multiple legendaries per guild. And the first set's going to have 5 guilds. The second set's going to have 5 guilds. And the third set we know nothing about because they're keeping it a surprise. It's apparently a story moment. The whole dang set name or whatever. But it's possible for 1,000 decks. Wow. That's 100,000 sleeve cards. Did I do that math right? 1,000 decks, 100 cards? Yeah. Yeah. 100,000 sleeves. Whew. Anyway, I don't want to think about it. I'm just going to do a deck at a time and we'll get there. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, I think we're going to shuffle and cut.